Know that conversations about the proposed protest action tomorrow, the 1st of October, is still in place. Now, as a result of the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, one would have thought that the organizers of the 1st October proposed protest would be withdrawing from that particular move. But it looks like the organizers are saying they are going ahead. What happened to the organizers of hashtag End Bad Governance protest? You would think that this would douse down the morale of Nigerians.
A correction. A lot of people should not be involved, but it looks like Nigerians are really, really determined that despite what
to go ahead with this.
Yes, to go ahead with it.
All right. Good morning, Victor and Elijah. Good to have you on Rise and Shine this morning. Hello, Victor.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Good to have you on Rise and Shine. So, tomorrow is the 1st of October. We're meant to be celebrating the 64th anniversary of Nigeria's independence. But it looks like the organizers of the proposed protest are still holding on. I know you are big on, human rights issues when Nigerians are concerned. Take us through the plans for tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so happy independence in advance, right? And if it seems as if Nigerians don't really have anything to celebrate, but part of the event tomorrow will be Nigerians coming out to speak to the government, to speak to the people that, especially in the areas where the government have not been doing well, right? The truth about it is that especially the young generation. We are all looking for every opportunity to speak to the government, to let the government know that there is a great disorder and great dysfunction when it comes to government performance. The government have not performed, especially the APC-led government. They have taken Nigeria backward. So what you'll be seeing tomorrow, you'll be seeing different level of protests from different parts of the country to demonstrate and to let the government know that we are not happy, we are not satisfied. And there's a lot of young people who were arrested during the last protest, even down to the former protest in NSAS. A lot of young people are still held captive, right? Because the government of the APC have learned how to use arrest to threaten the young Nigerians for not coming out to say the reality on ground, for them not to speak the reality on ground. So we still have some persons down from NSAS protests who are still held captive. That's still one of the focus for tomorrow. We are still going to be asking for immediate release. We're still going to be asking for press freedom. We're still going to be asking for minimum wage to be increased. We're still going to be asking for the reduction of pump price. It's no more fuel subsidy, it's now pump price. Because as we all know, there was never a time about the fuel subsidy has always been a scam. We had an increase in pump price and bad roads, insecurity, especially in the northern part of the country, youth inclusiveness. We want to see performance of our executives. We want to say no fighting corruption against judiciary. There's a lot that the young people, we are coming out to let the government know that this is what you have to do at this time.
Well,
secondly, we're not leaving out INEC. INEC is now the most corrupt institution in Nigeria as we speak today. They are not just financially corrupt, they are morally corrupt. Not just morally corrupt, they are bringing down democracy to the bare minimum. In fact, they are now anti-democracy. You go to a state like Edo State, where the people voted for a candidate, INEC, this is not APC working, INEC by themselves changed the result and announced the loser as the winner, bringing down the voice of the people to nothing. So we see that, in fact, I will say this here is that what we are even trying to do, we are trying to save Nigeria from the chaos, from the calamity that is breeding, that might come up if nothing is done now, because you can't keep pressing the people down and expecting that the country will grow. No, at some point, these same people that you have been oppressing will want to rise and fight against the system. So we are coming in now as a savior to save this country from the disastrous calamity that INEC and APC-led government are bringing to us. Even down to the politicians, down to the local government chairman, we want them to be held accountable. The governors have been hiding under the shade of the president. Most of our governors are not doing anything. At the least, governor as of today takes over close to 15 billion every month, and we don't see the effect in our state. So, and I don't think any person that is a Nigerian should keep quiet. Tomorrow, talk to your community, talk to your followers, do your own broadcast from your own little followers on your own platform. Let the world know how dissatisfied you are with things happening in Nigeria. It's better we speak up now before the country burns down. Let us speak up now. Tomorrow is a better opportunity for us to speak up, because the world and the global world will be on us. Go ahead, man.
So, Victor, it's called the hashtag Fearless October 1. Do we really believe that? Remember that during the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, we saw several major states and cities in Nigeria not be a part of that protest. It wasn't nationwide, as it were. What is the guarantee that Nigerians want to partake, in the Fearless October 1 protest? And do we really need this protest at this time? I know that the organizers have said, that IGP Egbeto Kun has been informed and they have requested maximum security. In Abuja, for instance, they'll be heading to the Eagle Square. But do you really believe that Nigerians want to go out for this protest tomorrow?
The truth about it is that Nigerians are ready to protest. Now, the protests that about Nigeria now, don't measure it by what you see on TV. No. There are a lot of people who will be protesting tomorrow that you will not see on TV. What we are doing is to raise that consciousness for Nigerians not to be silent at this time. That is the first thing first. Let us not to be silent. Let us not settle for this is not even less. This is let us not settle for poverty. Let us not accept poverty. The government can do better. What we are saying to every one of us is raise your voice. Use your voice to speak to this government. The truth about it is that globally, Nigeria will be on the map tomorrow, being our Independence Day, right? And the best thing any Nigerian should be saying is our government should wake up. Our government should help the people. Our government to do things right. That would be the best thing. Whether you see people on streets or not, let all of us tomorrow use the opportunity of our Independence Day to speak to our local government chairmen, speak to our councillors, speak to our governors, our legislators, our senators. Let's use the opportunity tomorrow to speak to them. Whether you're on social media, whether you're on the street, wherever you are, just make sure that tomorrow you are speaking to the political elect that is handling the affairs of this country to do the right thing.
Now, Victor, this is the first of its kind. I mean, 1st October, instead of celebrating, we are rather protesting. What does this speak of the Tinubu-led administration? Because this current administration do not see anything wrong in their policies. They are rather saying that the policies they are picking and taking is going to give Nigeria a future yielding. I mean, we see leaders, we see politicians actually applauding the activities of the Tinubu-led administration. Do you think that the October 1 protest about to start tomorrow is going to actually make any reflection or differences? I mean, we've seen other protests so far so good in this country.
The challenge here is not about what we think. The challenge is about what we know. You and I know that the APC-led government have not done well. In fact, if they have even left us maybe where we were 10 years ago, it would have been better off. Nigeria as a country, we have gone backward. Imagine our currency, compare our currency to the likes of Benin Republic. Benin Republic currency has more value than our currency. That is a shame. So if any politician comes and tell you that they don't believe that their policy is doing well, why are they planning to change their ministers? Why are they planning to reshuffle ministers? If they know the ministers are actually performing, they know this, but they don't want to accept it. And you know, I've always said it here that one of the biggest problems of APC is their inability to accept the truth. They are not God. As human beings, you can fail. If they even come up and say, Nigerians, we have failed you people, what do you think we should do right? Somebody like myself, I'm willing to work for them for free. Give them step-to-step strategy on how they can revive this economy.
All right.
We are not coming out because we just want to come out. We are coming out because Nigerians are paying. Nigerians are going through high level of hardship. That's why, that's it. All of us, we want to celebrate. We want to be at the stadium. We want to, fly the green, white, green. We want to jubilate. But what are you going to jubilate about? Are you going to jubilate buying fuel for 1,200? Are you going to jubilate for a minimum wage of 30,000 and a bag of rice of 120,000?
Victor, our minimum wage is now 70,000. But the president has said we will not be.
Let's not mislead the people.
It will be implemented soon.
Madam,
they have worked on the consequential adjustment, so it will be effected soon. But
they even started paying some. As of Thursday, they have started making payments.
Until it's effected. Let's not confuse the people. Our minimum wage as it is that we earn today is still 35,000 naira.
Okay, Victor, but
let's keep on that.
All right, thank you so much for your time. But if I get you right just before we let you go, what you are saying is that tomorrow Nigerians will be protesting, but it is not necessarily a street-to-street protest. You are asking Nigerians to engage their elected officials and speak to them about the issues that we have. So we may be having town hall meetings at protests, not just about carrying placards nationwide. I hope that's the path that we took instead of getting to the streets. Also, it will be in the best interest of all Nigerians. But thank you so much, Victor Anilaju, for your time on Rise and Shine this morning.
Thank you, and I hope that tomorrow we'll be live again to just talk to the people about our Independence Day, and let's see what we can do together. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Every one of you.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Of course, great conversation. Tomorrow, we needed to talk about this protest because a lot of Nigerians were hoping it was going to be shelved, but we've seen the organizers go ahead to write the IGP of police, get adequate security to move ahead with the protest in certain parts of the country. But of course, we will monitor the impact and the influence of the protest. Will Nigerians even turn up for that particular protest action?
Aside from that, when Nigerian turn, I hope the IGP of police will also be in support of this, because the last hashtag end bad governance.
No, he doesn't have to be in support of it. He just has to do his responsibility of providing security. Because once again, we have continued to see, we started seeing people from different quarters saying, please shelve the protest and let us dialogue. Those are conversations that are already
previous conversation we've always had. But let's look forward to how the protest will
of course, we definitely monitor and see what the response will be like. But we have Mr. Bash Olashukwu joining us from Abuja this morning. October 1 is a big conversation on the lips of every Nigerian. At 64 years old, how well would you say your country has fared? Of course, it would be fair to have someone who has been here for the longest of time and has been invested in the conversation of Nigeria as a state. We have Bash Olashukwu, who is a policy and public affairs analyst, joining us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Olashukwu. Good to have you on Rise and Shine.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you.
How is Abuja today?
Well, Abuja is fine. The weather is cool, and Tinubu is still the president.
Very important.
Mr. President is still the president. Absolutely. Yeah. But let's pick your mind quickly with regards to the fearless October 1 protest. You joined in the conversation at the tail end. What are your thoughts? Should Nigerians be taking this on, or we should just let it go? Is this a necessary path to take?
Yes, I think we have that inalienable right to protest, to express our dissatisfaction with the state of things in the country. We cannot be deluding ourselves that things are moving right. And then the issue has always been the modality, the methodology for carrying out such protests. And I think the organizers must have learned one or two lessons from the last one. Because there is something about the last protest that is unique, and I think that will be the first time it's happening in Nigeria for governors to go to court, get an order restricting the protesters to a particular spot and saying that you are confined to this place and the police will be available to give you the necessary support and security protection while you are having it. Secondly, I think I listened to Comrade Victor when he was speaking, and there is something he said that really got me going, because initially when he kept talking of APC, I was a little bit not aligning with him, because the problem today goes beyond APC. But when he changed the language to politicians, our leaders, I think I'm more in tune with that, and that takes it to the level of beyond the federal. It takes it to the state, it takes it to the local government, and for me, it's also going to take it beyond the local government. We should also take it to the level of the family, so that poor parenting, failed parenting, which I think is also an integral part of the problems we're having in the country, should also be addressed at that level. That's my take.
Okay, now let's swing into the conversation we are having this morning. Now, tomorrow is our Independence Day. We're going to be 64. One of the questions I would like to ask, do you think that Nigeria was mature enough to have gotten independence as at October 1, 1960? Do you think that we were well structured enough? I mean, looking at the pains and our founding fathers went through to give us independence, do you think October 1960 was the right time for Nigeria to have gotten independence? Because the outcome of what we're seeing right now looks like independence was not really needed.
Well, I think it's only a deluded mind that want to stay in slavery for eternity. Because colonialism was a form of slavery. And so whether we are ripe or not, I think our forefathers, the leading light of the fight for independence in Nigeria, nobody could fault them for doing what they did. Yes, the issue may be that, okay, at some point, maybe the structures were not clearly defined, but I can say if you go back to documents, if you go back this, the line of history and you listen to those who are part of that process. I had the opportunity of meeting the late Chief Anthony Enaro when he was alive, and you can recollect the role he played. And coincidentally, during the protest on the June 12th crisis in Benin, Edo State, 17 of us were declared wanted by the DSS. Chief Anthony Enaro was one of us. Odigi Oyegun was one of us. Olu Adelebigbe of Nigeria Labour Congress in Edo State then was one of us. And I, being a student union leader, I was part of the 17 persons declared wanted that time. So I had the opportunity of meeting with some of these persons, and I can say that they had very good plans, they had good vision for Nigeria. But along the line, some of these issues got derailed, and I think a fundamental one was also the incursion of the military into the leadership and governance of Nigeria through their coup and counter-coup. So I will not agree with anybody stating that perhaps Nigeria was not ripe. I think anybody in his sane mind, his or her sane mind, will be ready to get out of slavery. And if the military had not come in and we have been allowed to continue on that path, I think we will have gone beyond some of the problems we are facing today, because the real issue is that at the end of the day, there is no system that is perfect, no design that is faultless. But as you progress, you see where you have missed it, you quickly correct, you sit down and look at it. What is it that will have done better? We are looking at the organizers of the last protest, and you can see what Comrade Victor said. It's also something that gives me some delight in saying that, look, not everybody can come to the street. Not everybody can be in the cities. This protest should go beyond that. They have learned from the last one, and they are telling people that even in your local government, in your community, there is a way you can make your voices heard, and people will know you are also not happy with the way things are going.
Okay, so looking at Nigeria at 64, let's look at some of our achievements as a nation, as a state. How well would you say that we have matured after, 64 years? Looking at some of our achievements, biggest on that table will be being referred as to Africa's largest economy, and also, Africa's most populous nation. When we look at some of those other little details in between, and we also look at our security investment in neighboring African countries during conflict, these are some of the strongholds that we have had as a nation in 64 years. Take us through some of the achievements of the country and your thoughts holistically. Do you think we have done well in spite of our challenges?
For me, the challenges are there, and like I said before, no system is faultless. They are there. But the very sad thing about the Nigerian situation is that most of our challenges that have led us to this checkered history of development, they are self-inflicted challenges. They are things that if we have managed ourselves very well, some of these challenges wouldn't have arisen at all. But unfortunately, those challenges that some of them that with just a snap of the finger will have been able to resolve. We have some endemic problems that we have failed to address, and those problems have now turned those seemingly insignificant challenges to be gargantuan ones that we find it very difficult to manage. But in terms of development, we have tried within the confines of what is available and what we have collectively tried to achieve. But for me, it is 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. But
Mr. Odochukwu, let me come in there. When you said with regards to what is available, we are people that have a lot. We are a blessed nation. Our resources are bountiful. So if we juxtapose our resources and the developments, they don't come hand in hand. Because when you sound like what is available, it looks like we just have a little and we've been trying to get by. But Nigeria has had a lot and has mismanaged her wealth.
The truth of the matter is that maybe it's a matter of perception. I did not want to put it across as if we've had a little. No, we've had enough. We've had more than enough. But like I said, there are those endemic problems, self-inflicted challenges. For instance, we have the issue of leadership. We have the issue of corruption, because these two things go hand in hand. Leadership and corruption. And these are the things that those resources, as gargantuan as they are, as enormous as they are, that will have been able to put food on the table for everybody, have made education at least accessible to everybody, health infrastructure that's available, good roads, and a lot of other infrastructure. Unfortunately, those saddled with that responsibility of services provisioning have taken the people for granted, and through corruption, they've also collectively sabotaged the collective interest of Nigerians. And as such, the achievement is not in tandem with the available resources. That is my take.
Okay, Mr. Olashupo, there are issues. You said you were once of, when Nigeria was still at the very tender age, you were once a student union, of which I know you benefited greatly from the educational system. Let me ask you, because in achievements, we want to look at the educational system. What do you think went wrong in the educational system in the country as at when you went to school compared to what we have now?
Okay, that's good. Let me also make this point. You said when Nigeria was still at a very young figure. I'm not that particularly old to be able to start telling you stories of about 60-something years ago. So do not address me in borrowed road. I don't have that capacity. The young ones I've had from my parents, from lecturers, things I've read about, I may have limited knowledge of those things. But as at 1986, or let me go back to 1983-84, I was already in the College of Education in the then Ondo State, a College of Education in Ikere. And I can tell you, as at the time I entered that school, our accommodation there was 90 naira for a session. It was the Buhari Idi Agbon regime that came with policies of saying, oh, they've mismanaged the economy, and then the accommodation went from 190 naira to 120 naira. As at that time, we will go to the cafeteria to eat for 50 kobo. You buy the tickets. In the morning, if you don't even have the money for the ticket, you can go there, tea, coffee, sugar, all those things are available without you buying the ticket for every student. So if you buy the ticket, that's when you can get bread, you can get egg, you can get some of these other juicy packages for that 50 kobo. Even as at that time, those of us in the State College of Education were also complaining that our counterparts in Adeyemi College of Education in Ondo State, a federal college of education, that on Sunday they were being given the whole chicken for their lunch, whereas in our own school, it's a quarter chicken. That was part of it. But let me also state here, some of the things this administration is bringing up and people are celebrating, those things, yes, we give them kudos for bringing up those things. But those things are not new. They were there. It's our people that finished it. An example is the student loan we are talking about today. As at that time, some of our lecturers then benefited from the student loan. There was scholarship at the federal, at the state, and regional level when they started. But what happened? People took this loan, started working, and never paid back.
So in essence, there was student loan in this country before now?
Yes. Go and find out. In fact, recently, there is somebody they said was a member of the National Assembly who went recently to pay about 3 million naira to the government, saying that he has looked at the loan he took as far back as the early 80s, and he never paid back, and used his own sense of judgment to calculate the interest and came to pay. So people benefited, they refused to pay back. And when you do that, you destroy everything there. So sometimes it is because those in government did not do the right thing. Sometimes it is because those of who also benefited also did not consider the coming generation. I was told once by somebody that there was a time in Nigeria that they had something they called labor office. When we gained independence, those who had no job were going there on a weekly basis to get some stipends. And when I worked in the Ondo State Ministry of Finance in 1980-81, after I wrote my YF, our salaries then were being paid every 2 weeks. And my boss then was saying that ordinarily we should be getting our salary weekly, as is being done in UK, in Europe, in America today. Those things today, when we hear them, they appear strange. But unfortunately, we had those opportunities, people frittered them away. And so when you look at the process so far, I think all of us, especially those who had the opportunity of benefiting from these things and eventually sabotage it through their nonchalant action, through their sense of their lack of patriotism, I think they are also likely to blame. But very frankly, I say those who are given the responsibility of managing these structures, these institutions, I think they are the number one culprit. Because if you are put in place a system that makes it impossible for somebody to collect a loan, start working and fail to pay back, and that system will have been able to hold that person accountable. But today, we are not even sure the one we are starting now, in another 5 years, it will not collapse, because it's the same persons who are asked, to be in charge, who will also be telling people that this is how you circumvent it. One major thing is good about this one that I've seen is that the loan is not being given directly to students, but they pay directly to the school, and so on. My fear now is that I hope the schools too will not start increasing their fees, their bills, to the extent that it becomes too burdensome for the government to pay, or too burdensome for those who benefit when it's time for them to pay back, that they will not be able to pay back. So by and large, we've had good structures, we've had good vision, we've had those with good intention. Unfortunately, I think the bad people we have been more than the good ones, and they succeeded in sabotaging the collective interest of the nation.
So will you say it is a system problem or is a greed problem from Nigerians? Should there be a system to curb this, sabotage? Because during the conversation you said that it is a self-inflicted issue we found ourselves. So is it a system problem or is a character or greed kind of problem in the country that have brought us to this level?
I think it's an amalgam of the two.
Okay.
The system not properly structured, and then the implementers and beneficiaries also lack sense of patriotism out of greed and so on. Let's look at it. There is the example of somebody who was the Accountant General of the Federation, who, when he left office, when he retired, though, was accused of taking about 68 billion naira. The person of Otunla.
Yes.
And that case was on. I think immediately the EFCC picked him. They say he returned about 3 billion. That case was still on. They were dilly-dallying on it. That man has died now. What is going to happen to the money he stole? That seems to be end of discussion. There is also one of his successors in Kano, Idris, who, when he left office as Secretary General of the Federation, was also accused of stealing about 90 billion naira. Till today, that case is still in court. This same man was brought to court on one occasion, or he was on crutches, on wheelchair, and everybody, if you had not known the enormity of what he did, you would have been at least out of your meek of human kindness. Oh, look, maybe they should be a little bit soft with this man. But the man, not knowing that the camera was following him when they took him away from the court, immediately he got to his house, he threw away the crutches, the wheelchair, and you see him just bouncing up and down, going to perform ablution. And funny, you know, to go and pray. The same God that says we should not cheat our fellow persons. We go to church on Sunday, we go to mosque on Friday, we pray like praying mantis every day. But we are the most ungodly people in the way we carry out our activities. Because if you love your neighbors, if you think of what damage you are doing to others who are supposed to benefit, the madness, the looting, the corruption going on will have been at least minimal. No country is free of corruption. That is the reality. Even where we have the capital punishment, they kill people for stealing money, but that does not mean that 2-3 months or 2 years down the line, others will still not do something. But it's a way of reducing it to be BRS minimum. But when you have a system whereby for stealing billions, all you get is just a slap on the wrist, and then your community people will organize a welcome party for you. I know of somebody in a Lagos state, a former governor who went to jail for stealing money, and when he was coming, his people got Ashwebi to welcome him back. So what message are you passing to the younger ones? You are telling them stealing is good, crime is good, and you get rewarded for it. So our sense of patriotism is unfortunately very, very ridiculously low. And then things that our fathers in those days used to frown at, they are the things we celebrate today. I tell people I come from parents, both Ibadan in Oyo State and a village or a town called Arigidi Akoko in Ondo State. In my mother's place where I grew up, there is an annual festival they used to have. That festival, when it's approaching, you see the young ones in the community forming groups, composing songs to deride those who have committed what the community frowned at. If you are caught stealing from another person's farm, if you have caught indulging in adultery, if you are caught doing anything that seems to, they will compose songs, and during the festival, they will come to your house, the compound of that person, to still sing that song. And members of the family must come out and dance to that dance of shame that the community is frowning at what we are doing. It's their way of passing it across. So as youths that we were growing up, our parents were pulling our ears and telling us, please, I'm bringing you up. Do not let them bring us out to come and dance to dance of shame. But today, people steal billions. Community people organize welcome parties. What is the meaning of that?
Well, we're still building on the conversation of Nigeria at 64, and you have taken the conversation to a really strong place. As of last week, we saw the National Orientation Agency saying that they're going to introduce a value brigade in our primary and secondary schools, just to start teaching our children and enshrining, morals and values at a very, very early stage. But you have said something about the fact that the examples that the older generation is leaving us are not good examples. Do you think that, initiating a value and morale brigade at primary and secondary schools will help fix our system with regards to, values to build a better Nigeria? Because what's our hope in 10, 20 years if everybody and every parastatal is really, really corrupt?
Yes, thank you very much. When we started this conversation, I made reference, though in passing, to the role of the family in trying to address some of these challenges we are talking. All over the country, there is faith parenting. And I tell people where I've had opportunity to engage with them. You see, when you talk of education, the education is both formal and informal. Most of the time, we tend to have more on the formal education, forgetting that the formal education you start receiving in primary school, secondary school, and so on is supposed to be built on the foundation laid by the family in the aspect of informal education for you as a person. So if that informal education, which is the foundation for us, as they failed us over time, I think we also need to go back there and start to look at the ethics, the values, those things that we hold dear as a people in the country. So that is a good step that the National Orientation Agency is taking, and I'm not surprised because one of the persons there, Issa Onilu, is somebody I've known for over 15 years now, and I know the type of person he is. But then, structures are there, institutions are there. The people are also the ones who will accept this and be able to give the necessary support to it. I know because of the problem of existentialism, what do we have these days? Experience, most of us, because we need to go out and hustle and get money to feed our family, to also give them the goodies of life. We do not have time that our parents used to have in those days to give us all the moral foundational thing I'm talking about. Let's also not forget, the society is not static. Things are moving rapidly. Civilization is coming in. Sophistry is coming in. And unfortunately, why those that were aping, that we are trying to see if we can be like them, are also trying to have their own moral preservation. At our own level, what we are trying to do, unfortunately, is to throw everything that is national, everything that is cultural, everything that is ethical, we are trying to throw them to the garbage bin in the name of civilization. And that is why you see parents today who are not able to take good care of their children, have enough time for them at home, rely more heavily on what those children are able to get in the school when they start going to school. But at the same time, they are negatively averse to the idea of these children being given the necessary moral education and moral guidance in the school. And so I've seen parents who will mobilize family members and friends to go to the school being attended by their children, to beat up teachers for scolding, not even beating though. The child will come home and say, "Mommy, our auntie shouted on me and said I should shut up today while I was in class." And then the following day, the mother will go and meet the proprietress of the school and say, "Why are they bullying my child? Why am I?" But in our time when we were growing up, if your parents tell you they are going to report you to your teacher in the school, that was like a death sentence. When we were in the secondary school, it was better for you to be punished by the teacher than for you to be punished by your senior. The teacher will go home by 2 o'clock. Your teacher in the school, in the boarding house, your secondary school seniors will punish you from that time till the following day. All these things were part of moral upbringing. There was an instance I was beaten when I was in secondary school, and I went to bring my dad, and I was working with swag that yes, this senior is in trouble, my daddy is coming to deal with him. I was sure when my daddy got there, as old as he was, he frustrated for this my senior. I was begging that, "Look, it's your brother, help me bring him up." I say, so this man hated me this much. But later in the years, I got to understand what he was trying to do. Those things are gone now, gone with the wind. Now, there was a time I heard on social media that somewhere in the country, the Association of Mothers of Yahoo Boys were going to have a party.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot to take in.
Not hearsay. A teacher in a secondary school somewhere in Ekiti State told me that students writing NECO, they discovered that as they were writing, about 4-5 persons were outside, and the vigilator said, "Look, you are disturbing." They now said they wanted to see somebody, and said, "Oh, one of the students writing NECO," and they said, "Okay, quickly go and see them." And this boy carried one bag, they dropped in front of the class, brought out money, and was given to these people. And the vigilator asked, "What is that money for?" He said, "Oh, they are working on the house I'm building." Somebody writing the NECO, a 17-year-old boy. And parents don't ask questions. In our time, if you go home with a pencil that is not your own, you will be punished at home for bringing it, and your parents will follow you to school the other day. And You know, but now we celebrate some of these things. That is at that level. So I think we have to go down to that level. The politicians were also complaining about today. I think some of them also started their petty thievery from the primary schools through secondary school. Now that they have become national disaster for all of us to live with, then we are complaining. I think we have to go back. The youths, unfortunately, some of them have gotten the wrong orientation. Our sense of history is no longer there. Yeah. Our sense of decorum is no longer there. And you see people trying to justify everything. I've seen children that I ask, why are you indulging in this cyber crime thing? Yahoo, Yahoo. And he says it's because there is no money. But I asked him, what school are you? A 200 level student. He has not even graduated, but displayed that because things are, there is no job outside. He has not gotten to that unemployment market that we are talking about. He's already decided that he has to start doing these things. And I tell people, when some of them meet with calamities, I can say it, I've seen people who are even close to me. A mother telling me that, look at what the son is doing. No, this boy bought a car, and do you know the boy has thrown it away? He said some people, I say, no, there's a saying in Yoruba language, let me put it this way, that there is no way you can trade in stones without being paid with sand. If you make other people to cry, to be wealthy, one day you will also cry and weep too. That is the law of nature. Karma will karma. So parents who are supporting those things, you know, and our leaders, I've seen friends who have also been to National Assembly, who have held high positions, who also stole money. Go and check with them. Today, 4 or 5 years after leaving office, they are back to basics. They are beggars, and worse than it was. Because you can't steal collective patrimony and think that you can enjoy it eternally. It's not done. So when you see some of them having stroke, when you see some of them being beleaguered by a lot of serious ailments, you don't know where it's coming from. But that is the truth about it. It may be a spiritual thing, but I'm a traditional person, and I believe that the society, the spirit, the destiny of those people you mortgage, you just toy with, will not close his eye and sleep. I tell people, it's not the man that come out and wail and say, look, the man who made me to lose all my property, you will die tomorrow. It's not that one that is for you to fear. It's the one who sit down and said, God, where were you when this was happening to me? And it is that one that the spirit, the God, the heavenly God, and the gods of the family of the society will come after you. That is it.
But Mr. Lashuk, you know, a lot of people will feel that, I mean, this conversation we have, that we are seeing younger people getting involved in cyber crimes and other criminal acts. A lot of people will say it's a reflection of what they see their leaders do. I mean, we had this conversation last week when the National Orientation Agency, through the Ministry of Information, said they want to start the Value Brigade. Now, we will see that they want to instill values in younger generation, but how will a young person, that young boy in primary or secondary school, react when he sees that his leader, his political leader, probably his local government chairman, has just embezzled funds, and there is no role model to look up to as far as leadership is concerned? How do you think this is going to run in between? How do you marry these two, these two opposite issues?
Yes, that's why I said our sense of history seems to be very vague, and we have tried to throw away some of those things that we ought to have promoted. Realistically, when you also look at it, you can understand the frustration of some of these young ones. They do not have proper guidance. I've been following on social media recently, in the past 24 hours, and I've read a lot of terrible things about activists. Some of the things that they say happened with money that was raised for NSAS, how people collected millions, some of them used it to travel out of the country and whatever. Now, the last time I had a meeting, and Shure was there at that meeting, he told the people at the meeting that, you are fortunate to have Comrade Bash sitting down here with you, that when we were on the campus in Unilag, and Comrade Bash and others were working at the Committee for Defense of Human Rights, when we'll be talking of protests, they are the ones who will collect all the posters, the leaflets, the things we use for mobilization. And when they call on us in school and say, oh, Yele Sowore, Ashiru, who is also an associate prof in Unilag today, we called on the younger ones among us. Shasiti Loye, who just left office as Attorney General of Ondo State. We call on those ones. It was in Uniben then. In Nunzuka, we had the structures. We sent these things to them. Those of them who were given those things to go and distribute, they did it with pride. They were happy that they were even recognized as people who could do it. But today is a different ball game. You call on these children at the first day we are, say, comrade, how much are you giving us? And it's not just only the money to do it, it's also the money to sleep in the hotel, expensive ones, to enjoy themselves and all that. So things have really changed, and we have to live with these things. But then we cannot continue along this trajectory. So the move to start it from the primary, from secondary school, I think is a welcome development. But let this also go to those our leaders. They will have to pay for their sins, either openly or secretly. Some of them steal this money, and let me say this, Nigerians have gotten to a point that they don't even, to some people, the problem is when people steal this money, loot this money, instead of setting up companies, factories where people can be employed, they rather go and keep it, or they go to Dubai, you buy one house there, one house in UK, another one in US, and whatever. And I was graphically telling people in Adamawa State 3 weeks ago when I was training them, that people don't know that when you do anything in success, you are close to madness, or even you are mad without being conscious of it. You go and build a house with about 10 bedrooms, and because you say you want to enjoy yourself, you sleep in one room from 8 in the night till 10. And then by 10, you move to another room to sleep till 12. And then by 12, you wake up to sleep in another room because you want to enjoy your money. The following day, when this goes on for a week, your wife will be the person to call your family member that, look, it's like something is wrong with my husband. Our husband has gone mad again. And so when you come back from work, family members are waiting for you. As they are saying, welcome, sir, they try to hold you and you say, what is happening? They start tying you up to take you to a psychiatric home. And you are saying you are not mad, and the wife will say, yes, so that's how he will tell you it's not mad. But I sleep with him, I know he's mad. Some of the things we are doing show that some of our leaders have mental disorientation. Stealing money. I was reading the other time, somebody said somebody had about 80 Mercedes cars in his compound. For God's sake, what are you going to do with that? So these are some of the issues.
He's an ambassador.
So,
okay.
I'm ambassador for Mercedes. But these are some of the issues we really need to address. People cannot be stealing our money and being allowed to get away with it. And that is one point I like to make. During the last End Bad Governance protest, there was a group, I think Patty Tommy was one of them, Professor Jibo Ibrahim is one of them. I think the country director of MacArthur Foundation, College Shetima. I think this group came together. There is a blueprint, a list of recommendations they made and gave to the president that these are things he should address. There are some of those things that I think they are things that the government should be able to address very quickly. For instance, one of their recommendations is that there should be special courts for trying people who looted our treasury. I gave you the example of somebody who stole 68 billion. The case was in court for about 5-6 years. Now he has died. The money is gone. But if we have a position on it that, look, within 6 months or so, such trials will be carried out because the evidence is always there. But the longer it goes, the more the opportunity for these people to try to twist the evidence available and so on and get away. These are things that we must show as a people that we don't like. And community people should stop this issue of celebrating thieves and robbers, who are we call politicians. This will also go, if those people get isolated, there is a way it makes them to also say, your children will call you. But over here, people don't do it. I remember one day I was watching a football match. Didier Drogba was playing for Chelsea football team then. And then there was a decision the referee took against Chelsea. And he was angry, went to the extent of trying to even behave as if he was going to slap the referee. People were pulling, were saying, no, this will not go. But at the end of the day, the position of the referee stayed and whatever. But a few days later, in an interview, he said he regretted what he did. Because when he got home, his children told him that, Daddy, why did you do that? When we get to school tomorrow now, our schoolmate will be saying, look at your father, behaving like an uncivilized person. These are the type of things, type of lessons that we need to learn. My own is that a philosopher once said that education is what remains after everything you have learned in the classroom must have been forgotten. I've led the university since 1992. Took my first master's, my second master's, and my third master's a long time ago. The last master's degree I took in University of Ibadan was in 2006 in Peace and Conflict Studies. But I've moved around the country. There is no state in this country I have not gone to work, including your Akwa Ibom state here. I was part of the team that started the treatment of people living with HIV/AIDS in Echina, in Uyo, in some of the places. And I was linking with Ogoja, the other part of Cross River State, to do this. I meet with people, I know them. Our leaders are disconnected with the people. And you keep learning every day. You watch football, you learn. You travel with the people, you learn. And these are people who just travel by air. And air travel is for the rich. And so it's very impersonal. You don't even know what happens between Abuja and Kano when you fly to Kano. Travel by road, see how bad the roads are, see what the people are going through, see the things that people do. People say Nigerians don't like each other. That is, the Igbo man doesn't like Yoruba or Hausa. I tell you, it's a lie. It is our leaders who manipulate us to their advantage. I was in Ayola, Adama State, some weeks ago. A lady that used to come and attend the program, the training I used to do for them on sexual and gender-based violence. She's one of these persons living with disability. She did not turn up. And when I called her, this lady used to call me from time to time. Mr. Bash, how are you? Where is everything? And I asked her why. She said, sir, I could not leave the house. She started crying. When I was on break, I went to the army parade where she was living. And I said, Lizzie, what is it? He said, look at my wheelchair. It's totally bad. The tires are gone. And without somebody to now push me now, I can't even get out of this place. I don't have a good wheelchair. What do I do? I recommended somebody, but the person was out for the country to help her. But out of frustration, I also have an NGO. Never done it in my organization. I spoke to the management team and we said, okay, let's see what we can do. By today is Monday, I think on Friday, we have to put up something on our WhatsApp platform that please, this is somebody who needs help with the photographs of the distance. And that we needed 250,000 to buy the wheelchair, transport it, get everything down to her. Please, we want people to help us with money. By Saturday afternoon, we had the 250. People were still calling me to buy. I said, don't worry. Mind you, none of them asked me, where is that lady from? Is she from Yobe? Is it from Akwa Ibom? All the people who donated, I have Yoruba friends, Hausa friends, Igbo friends, and even students who saw the thing and said, sir, you once your NGO helped us when we were in school. We got some medicinal support, exercise book, and so on. And now we can afford to pay 2,000. I say, thank you, but we already have enough to carry out. So Nigerians, at the ordinary level, the grassroots level, we love ourselves. But when we get to that level of political manipulation for selfish interest, that is when they will tell you that somebody does not like you. Unfortunately, they say when you tell a lie over and over time, you start also believing it. And when you start ingraining this into the psyche of the people, they also, especially the young ones, they tend to believe it. Let's be candid. There has never been a time in Nigeria, as far as I know, that you just graduate from school, everybody gets automatic employment. You have to go through interview, you have to pray, you have to. Not everybody, it takes time. But today, people just say, once we get out of school, we are not employed, we have to. And people don't let them understand that sometimes it happens like this. I've seen people where I work, and they'll say, sir, as a consultant, you work and you get paid 100,000 a day. I also want to be a consultant. After all, I work a month in this place and they pay me 100,000. I say, no, you have to pay your dues. It took me 28 years to get to where I am today. Before you can be a consultant, you must have done this work consistently and people know that you have the capacity, the knowledge, the skill to be able to do it. And so you must be outstanding that when they want to do it, they say, oh, let's look for Mr. Bash. But you have just worked here now for 4 years. You want to be a consultant because of money. It doesn't work that way. So all facets of our life, we tend to be in a hurry and we've not taken the time to let our youth know that these are stages they have to pass through. And those who are stealing our money, I think we need to become harder on them. I also have people who have been in that National Assembly. When I engage with them individually, most of them, they're highly cerebral. They are people that sound patriotic and so on. But maybe we need to go and do some spiritual cleansing. For that assembly,
strong conversation.
And the governor's knowledge is everywhere. So that thing that gets into them, when they get there and turn them to very inhuman, heartless person who will forget where they are coming from, maybe we need to get it out of their head there. Thank you.
When you talk about our representatives being very highly cerebral, a lot of Nigerians wonder because what comes out of their mouth most often than not, they don't look like people that relate with, education. But let's move the conversation quickly, just in the limited time that we have. The strongest clamoring that we've started having in recent times is to get Nigeria's constitution to be reviewed. If we are going to start journeying towards a better country. I know that the Tinubu-led administration calls itself the Renewed Hope administration, putting in policies and reforms with the hope that it can take Nigeria to a better place. What's your take on the clamoring for a constitutional review? We've also really said that since 1999, when the military handed us this, constitution, it does not really interpret the tenets of democracy. Are you for constitutional reviews, and what are some of the sections that really should be looked into?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me mention this to you. Go down memory lane. Once it's time for constitutional amendment or review of constitutional conference, most often it is job for the good boys. The country will put a lot of money into it. People go there. I know the one under Jonathan, some people went there. Each person ended up collecting 13 to 16 million naira and so on. That was then, and so on. I think that type of jamboree, I will not support it. But in terms of picking specific areas of the Constitution that I think we need to look at, is very important we look at them. Issues about security, issues about derivation of resources and all that, issues about, and that's why I said the coming of the military really took us backward. I will give you one or two examples to see that it's a learning process. As we progress, there are things that situation will let us realize that, oh, this is not the way it should be. Let me give you an example. When the late President Yaradua died, what happened was that the vice president became the president as provided for by the Constitution. But along the line, we discovered that after the first tenure of Yaradua was completed, President Jonathan did another 4 years. So cumulatively, he has done 6 years. And then he went ahead again to contest in 2015. And then that brought up a fundamental issue, because our constitution then did not envisage a situation whereby all it did was that if the incumbent of that executive position died, then the vice will take over. Did not consider the fact that what will happen if that vice now wants to contest after completing that term and another term, and it became a real issue. It was a constitutional issue. Nobody could deny Jonathan, but indirectly people were also saying that this man is going for third term, because 6 years, if he got that 4 years, it would have been 10 years. And the MVC position for those executive position was 8 years. What happened after that? The National Assembly has gone ahead to amend it and say that if that happens in future, even if it is for 1 day you completed the tenure of that person, you have spent 1 term. And so if you go for another 4 years, you have completed your second term, you cannot go ahead and say you want to contest. So that is a pointer to the fact that these are issues that as we are progressing. But for us to say, look at the issue of security now. Already I know that people have been talking of multi-level policing, which people call state police. Even though some of the people who are saying they don't know the implication of this thing. But then it's gotten to a point now that the National Assembly is working on it, and they say, okay, if we are going to go, the Constitution demands that the governors should also come up to say, okay, this is the way to go. As at now, about 5 or 6 governors are the ones that are yet to give their consent. Look at the local government autonomy. We've been on it for some time, but as things are now, I think we've gotten to a head there. So you don't have to also say everybody should come and sit down, bring some people up, and all that. National Assembly, when I say cerebral, that's just that I'm not throwing a general blanket. Even those of us that were in the same class in school, that did never mean that all of us were at the same mental and psychological, intellectual level. There are some of them there, when you see them and they talk, you'll be asking that, please, did you attend the primary school before coming here? But at the same time, there are some of them, when you engage with them, there are some of them I've worked with in the past. Bamidele Okoyemi, the majority leader in the Senate, Professor Julius Ihonbere, even Tajuddin Yusuf from Kogi when he was in the House of Reps, even a lot of them I've worked with. Some of them were my ideological soulmates when we were in fighting the military to go. They are lucky they have found themselves there. The question I ask is, how come they've not been able to allow that aura of patriotism, of nationalistic tendencies, and that fervor of making sure that they work for the interest, how come it has not been contagious enough to influence some other members of the National Assembly? Thank you.
This has been such a smooth conversation, especially just, putting it together with real-time events. Thank you so much, Mr. Bash Olashukbo. I should call you Comrade Bash Olashukbo this morning for your investment on the show. Of course, we'll continue to build the conversation around Nigeria at 64 as we mark 64 years tomorrow, which is going to be the 1st of October. Thank you so much, Mr. Bash Olashukbo. Do you have any final words before we wrap up the show this morning for Nigerians as we go on 64?
Now, my own, which is not radically different from what Comrade Victor said the other time. People, yes, we need to put them at the national level on the bouncing ball to know we are not joking with them. But we should not do it at the expense of looking at the petty criminals that are also in the local government in the state. They find it cozy over time to hide under that and say it's the federal. They are getting more money now. A lot of things should be done. And I tell people, the NGOs to the CSOs, they have more work to do. When you write your project these days, your thesis in the university, and you say recommendation through sensitization and awareness creation, lecturers, your supervisors will now ask you, those are vague recommendations. Who will do the mobilization? Who will do the sensitization? What for? Who is it for? What should be the cardinal point they can focus on and so on? So when we just say we are going to protest at whatever, let people, the NGOs, make sure that in the communities, everywhere when Nigeria, the president wants to read the national budget, everybody gets to know about it. The state, nobody cares. The local government, at the local government level, let people make their chairman at the local government, the chairperson at the local government level. The day is going to read this budget for the year, traditional rulers, everybody in the community, come to that space, listen to the person. The things he said we achieve in 1 year, the CSO can list them. Get a very big billboard and put in front of the local government and strategic areas and list them that this year, these are the 12 projects this man said he will achieve. So if by 6 months you go there and it's only 2 years achieved, tick it and let people know. Hold town hall meeting and let them know. So that the man, as he's entering the secretariat every day, he could see that he has been a monumental failure. That 6 months out of 12 months, he has achieved only 2 out of 10 things. These are simple, non-violent ways of putting messages across. And members of the family will say, Pros, you are not doing well. Oh. I'm already being made mockery of by people that you are not moving. There are different ways, and government should please not see CSO, NGOs, activists as traditional enemies. They are partners in progress. Work with them. All this palliative you are giving that people are stealing. With the normal institutional arrangement and collaboration with NGOs, they can do the monitoring and develop key performance indicators that we are used to see how these things are getting to the people. Not that we just read about them on the telly, 20 trailer loads that have gone to where. And then the members of the family of the governor or the chairman of the government will now open the shop and become rice dealers at the expense of the people. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Bash Olashukbo. It's been such a great conversation. At the end of the day, here in Nigeria, we do have our solutions with us, but do we have the willpower to actually implement these things? Because if you would just implement the things that Comrade Bash Olashukbo just said, then even your local government chairman would do better. But that's the size of the conversation we can build on Rise and Shine this morning. Accountability. Tomorrow, the protest will continue, but how will you be protesting? Emmanuel, it's been such a robust conversation this morning, but it's time to go.
It is. It has been, and I'm super excited about, the wealth of knowledge, Mr. Bash Olashukbo brought on board this morning. It's something we need to go back and reflect on if we are going to get a better Nigeria. Well, let's do this again tomorrow, same time, same station. My name is Emmanuel. Do have a beautiful day.
Yeah, amen. Thanks for being a part of this. Let's do this again on the 1st of October. Bye-bye, Nigeria.